Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Black People Parenting uh, conversation that we do. We call it Candid Conversation. We've had a couple of different names for it, but pretty much this is a conversation that we have about various topics. And this month, we are talking about, since it's Pride Month, we want to talk about the relationship amongst Black men when it comes to gay Black men and straight Black men, and how we can kind of find ways to bridge the gap and find ways of communication and understanding between all of us, right? Because I think that's important. So, of course, as always, I have the wonderful, the illustrious, the great, the awesome Dr. Bambi Gaddis with me. Hey, Dr. G, what's poppin'?
Good evening. I hope they call me that when I get off this phone after they eat dinner.
Well, I don't have nothing to do with that. That's what I call you, Dr. G.
Yeah, but I want to extend my gratitude for everybody that's on, and for two experts here who are going to give us some insights and thoughts about things. Mr. Chavis and I want to lift him up in a special way. He is one of several faith consultants who have been working with me this year. We started off with COVID back when we lost so many. And from that journey, we evolved into what we now are defined as the HIV Vaccine Trial Network. And I want to share with your audience that we have not come up with an HIV vaccine yet. We have a lot of innovation. We can prevent, we have PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, and we call it the other blue pill. And there are ways that people can prevent getting HIV. But at the end of the day, we have not, much of what we learned from COVID vaccines, we learned from the work that had been done in HIV. And so, but we haven't come up with the right formula yet. Mm-hmm. And so part of our job, Mr. Chavis' job and mine, is to continue having conversations that, although are not directly related to COVID or directly related to HIV, our goal is to increase awareness, to make sure people have science-based information, and make sure that whatever decisions they make about their lives, about whether they are vaccinated or not, whether their sexual health or not, they do it based on science and facts and not lies and distortions. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to him, and I'm going to read this real quick because I put this on my Facebook, Dion. I'm not sure if you saw it. I said, okay, someone please tell me, what is it? What do we need to do to clear up the angst between men of various orientations? The Black community needs all men at the table right now to address concerns. There are health issues, there's guns, there's violence. Should I go on with all the things that our community is facing? Is there a gap in communication between men, or is it imaginary? And how can we all take a seat at the table? And I'm really hoping that this will be an explorational conversation. I do want to introduce Mr. Ernest Brown. He is a idol to me in many ways. He doesn't know it, maybe. I don't know if he does or not, but I have this ongoing reality that he can influence. And there's a book called How to Influence People. I forget who the author is, but I've never known someone who can move into a space and negotiate a conversation like Mr. Brown. I was fortunate to have him on my staff as the director of an organization, South Carolina HIV Council, that lived for 27 years. He is a public health and a HIV advocate. He's worked with young gay men of color for over at least 10 years that I've known him. Mm-hmm. He sits on a number of advisory boards. And he is currently working with a Ryan White program that helps people get access to housing here in Columbia, South Carolina. So I want to lift up Ernest Brown and welcome him to this platform.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Brown. Good to see you, sir. Yes, and I'm not going to use as many words as Dr. G when I introduce Reggie Brown. So we have two Browns on the panel with us. Reggie Brown, also known as DJ R&B. He is a great DJ and event curator, and he's doing a lot of great work here out in the city of Raleigh, in the Raleigh Durham area, actually. But also, I know that he is someone who is an ally to the LGBTQ community. So I thought it was important to have him here in this conversation. He is a straight male, but he is an ally to the LGBTQ community. So I thought it was important, if we are going to talk about bridging the gap, that we bring folks together and have an open conversation and have an open dialogue. Particularly, this is the last day of June, or is tomorrow the last day of June? Tomorrow's the last day of June, but we're ending out Pride Month, and I think it's important that we have conversations amongst each other about ways to find solutions and ways to find resolutions. Particularly when we're looking at a lot of the things that are going on with our government. Right, we saw what just happened with Roe versus Wade, and I think it's a safe bet to say that the Supreme Court might have some other things that particularly important to the LGBTQ community in sight, right? So I think it's important that we start having these conversations and start having this dialogue to kind of get a better understanding for me, because I think at the end of the day, it's us versus them, right? And when I say us, I mean us, the people, versus them being the establishment. I don't care whether you're gay, straight, black, white, green, yellow, purple. There's a lot of things that they're coming for that that they shouldn't necessarily be coming for. So I want to be sure that we have this open dialogue. So thank both of y'all, the guests, both of the Browns, for coming. So I want to start the conversation with Ernest, and I want to have a conversation because we talk a lot of times about the gay community and how it's kind of perceived within the Black community, right? So, Ernest, do you think there is still a stigma attached with being a member of the LGBTQ community and being Black?
There is a stigma, maybe not as much of a stigma as it has been in the past, because now it seems for me that being gay is kind of like it's like the norm. It seems like, okay, a lot of people look and say, okay, they're gay. They're not shocked that the person would say that they're gay in the Black community. I think because of a lot of you know personalities that are influential, famous folks are coming out. They're trying to normalize it with a lot of TV shows and some other things. So right now, I really don't think it's as much stigma, but maybe like in some of the more southern or like the rural areas where folks are not as accepting, there's a lot of stigma, but it's not as it has been in the past, in my opinion.
Okay. Let me ask you this. And again, I want this to be an open conversation, right? And I'll be the first to admit that I don't know everything. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, right? But I was walking in the mall the other day, and I rarely go to the mall. I was walking in the mall, and I can't remember what store it was. And being that it's Pride Month, it was Pride everything, and it wasn't H&M. It might have been a store like H&M, and it was just Pride everything. Do you think that being gay has somewhat become commercialized? Right? Does that make sense? I want to make sure I'm using my words properly. Because you see, a lot of things, just kind of like we see people talking about Juneteenth now, right? And we see that companies are now starting to embrace quote unquote Juneteenth. I saw some Juneteenth Vaseline in Target the other day. So we see all of these things and these corporations taking advantage of it. And I think that's just what happens when something becomes, a national holiday or something becomes nationally recognized. Do you think that is happening with Pride Month or with being gay? You know what I mean? Or do you think that it's just kind of like a sign of the times that we're in?
It could be a sign of the times. It's definitely been influenced by Pride Month because a lot of businesses, of course, they're going to take advantage of it because they feel deep down like, oh, the gay folks will come out, they will spend money, they do like to have a good time. So it's like the end thing, So a lot of folks and a lot of businesses, yeah, it's like, hey, that's the thing to do for folks. And they always say gay folks, we go out, we have a good time. And most of us and my friends, we can mesh and mingle in any kind of environment. So I really think they take it. I've been to DC for a meeting, and it was in Pride Month, and I walked into a bar, and the bar was covered in Pride material, getting ready for DC Pride. So and everywhere we went, that's all we saw, and then it just made it more inviting. So people are very smart; they know how to commercialize and get the money. So.
Yeah. So Reggie, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What does being an ally to the LGBTQ community look like for you?
So basically, for me, like, I don't pretend to like to be able to relate to every issue that they have, but I'm still very sympathetic. I'm still like it's kind of like if they have an issue, whether I realize an issue or not, I realize I do have straight pride, like stuff that I benefit from being straight that they don't benefit from. Just like similar to like how white males have stuff that they benefit from that black males don't.
Mhm.
I realize that. I realize my privilege. So basically, I try to use my platform because as a straight man, I can talk to other straight men and they will listen to me before they listen to somebody from the LGBT community. So I just try to be a listening ear. I try to learn as much as possible. I try to support them whenever they need. I know when to keep my mouth shut and when it's not my place to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dr. G, I want you to kind of chime in
Well,
as
I have a question.
yep.
Mhm.
If pride, I mean, given the conversation that pride is acceptable, I mean, pride is so commercialized, as you noted, and
Mhm.
people, as Mr. Ernest Brown indicated, people are more accepting. Then why do so many men lie? Why do so many men lie and say and because I was on a call, a webinar yesterday with trans a leader, Marissa Miller. She's the head of Trans Solutions, and one of the things she clarified for us was our language and how we use these terms, but they don't equal behavior.
Mhm.
Example, she said a lot of men define themselves as straight, but they have intimacy with men,
Mhm.
but they say I'm straight. To the world they say I'm straight, or they give the presentation or the whatever it is. Again, I'm ignorant to so much, but I'm trying to be real about what I have heard, seen, and experienced with men who present or say they're straight but have intimacy with men.
Mhm.
So for men who are only prefer and or engage in intimacy, because we've made this about the sex people you have sex with, when
Yeah.
I think it's bigger than that. It's bigger
Mhm.
than who do I go to bed with, because
And or engage in intimacy, because we.
what is that? Oh, I gotta say it's none of people's business who I sleep
Mhm.
with.
That's right.
But in the eyes of the world, they want to put people in boxes. And so there's an oxymoron between people who are saying they're straight but may not be, as well as the people that just flat out lie when they know that's who they prefer to be with, who they in their true self they want to be with is men.
Yeah, there's
Am I
that
making
now.
sense?
There's two different. That is correct because I feel there are folks who really want to be with a male. They will marry a female just for the sake of saying, okay, I'm going to marry this female because this is what the church or my friends or my family want me to do. But deep down, and sometimes a lot of times the females are very aware of it and it doesn't bother them. They feel secure. That person is taking care of the house and being a supportive husband financially, whatever. But then you have those other ones that simply say, listen, I like females, this is who I deal with, but what I do with a gay male is not indicative or does not define my sexual orientation. So and they're the ones who necessarily say, okay, I may want to live with my wife. I may just want to have those times that I step out and deal with the male. and they feel like, okay, I'm straight. And all I say is, okay, listen, you identify how you want to identify, but I've been in from the old school method of saying like if you dealt with the dude, you're automatically gay, but it does not necessarily do that. After I've educated myself, but some folks who are not educated, and of course they're gonna feel like if you with a guy, you gay. We got all this stuff on the media now and through social media about the scene on P Valley, where now folks are feeling like, oh, I can't watch it because if I watch it, folks are gonna think I'm gay. Listen, it's crazy.
So the stigma is still there then.
Yeah, so the stigma is definitely still there.
So I guess my
Yeah, I
final
think like a lot of part of sorry, a lot of
no,
people being gay, especially in the entertainment community, it's not that it's really accepted. It
Mhm.
just it's profitable. Like this venues I DJ at that 3 years ago was telling the security guards, I don't want any F words in my venue, so find something wrong with the dress code to deny them. And now they're doing gay pride events. Did the owner just have a sudden change of heart, or is it just profitable now? There's a big,
Profitable.
big difference there.
Mhm.
and do you call those things out? Are those things that you
Yeah,
call out?
I
Uh,
call it out too. Like the most, I could definitely call it out more. I don't like make a big social media post, put them on blast, hang up billboards, but I do tell them like, look, that's not okay. Like,
So let me ask this, RB. You make a great point, and,
yeah,
Dr. G, just to piggyback off of your question, like where do we find the balance between um, correcting people, and I'm speaking from like a business standpoint, right? Like where do we find that balance when we're faced with those issues, right? Of correcting someone whose behavior is not what we think is it should be deemed proper to treat someone, right? Where do we find that balance as to say, okay, well, this is this, but also I do business over here, like I get money over here. So where do we, you know what I mean? Like how do we find that balance to say this is incorrect, this is morally incorrect, but at the end of the day, I still gotta pay my bills. Like how do we balance that out?
mm,
well, I know it's bigger than money.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
It's in every fabric of our community. Example, it may be we might find ourselves having to call somebody out in a place of worship.
Mhm.
I know that I have been in situations where I've had to go to clergy and ask them, "Did you really mean what you said?" I've had to go to people that I in high esteem that were leading me spiritually in spaces that I needed to be in, who I was learning from, to learning how to worship and say, people are texting me in church. People are inboxing me when you're
So
talking because they're asking me, what do I think about what you've said?
stop right there, Dr. G. Stop right there.
Mhm.
Let's ask this. Does the and I want honest answers from all three of y'all.
yeah,
Does the black church hold a responsibility for helping us bridge the gap between the straight community and the LGBTQ community?
That's a great question. Go
yeah.
ahead, Reggie.
Um, like personally, like to me, I don't typically go to church for like personal reasons. I stopped going to church years ago. Now, when I say do they hold a responsibility? No, like no, I would say like morally, if they definitely, cause church, they definitely want to try to get people back in the church. This will be the time for them to try to admit like all of the wrongdoings that have been over the years with their homophobia, gay people going to hell and all this stuff, and kind of like realize, okay, times are different. We were wrong. So that would definitely be really good for them to do. But I don't know if I go as far as saying that they have a responsibility.
Ernest, what you think?
They bear some responsibility, in my opinion, because in the black church, black folks look at the pastor as like the leader, the guider. They really look at the pastor to say, if the pastor says I should do this, maybe I should do this. If the pastor says I should accept this, I might just accept this. So they do bear some responsibility, you know, And I think if it was more open, talked about more, not brushed under the rug, not having those old fiery preachers talk about you're going to go to hell and all this other good stuff because of this. If you don't see that, you'll see a lot more pastors maybe opening up about it. So I really think that they should, because a lot of folks listen to the black pastors in the black church. That's just the way they are, like the diehard Christians. They listen to that. As a kid, I was in church every Sunday, you know, and I had to sit in church. My mom should listen what the pastor says is what we, and they still to this day. So I really think that the pastors in the black churches should.
Okay, Dr. G, what say you?
Well, who, one of the questions I had, we're 40 some years into HIV. We've been fighting this disease for over 40 years. And one of the biggest barriers that we have confronted is the conflict between the gay community and the straight community, and people thinking that HIV is only gay people. And that is just like totally not true. That doesn't speak to women. It doesn't speak to Black women, who are the more likely than any other group of women to be disproportionately impacted. They got it from somewhere. They got HIV from somewhere. It doesn't speak to people who have struggled with drug addiction and have injected drugs, and that's how they acquired it. So this it's both behavioral, but what we've done with this epidemic is turn it into about people, different types and kinds of people. So when you ask, I mean, that question is so profound, because if we were to go back in history and look at slavery, and look at how the Bible was used to beat people, to kill, to lynch people that look like us. We can see some unfortunate reflections of how we now take the Bible, take a couple of scriptures, and allow those a couple of scriptures to define who God is and who he loves. Now, so personally, I may see God as non-binary. I believe he loves all of us. But to your question, every single leader has to ask themselves, am I inclusionary? Am I really a witness? Am I teaching my flock how to be a real witness to who I am? And so when we look at the faith community and ask ourselves, why are we losing so many people? Why are we so dismally failing and bringing young people into a faith space?
So let me play devil's advocate for a second, and this is based on one of the comments that came in. Quetta said that it's not a real expectation to have the pastors on the pulpit disavow the Bible, right? So is it a
disavow the Bible? Does that mean there is no room for interpretation? The Bible is an interpreted document.
Well, let me ask my question. Do you think that, because Ernest said something about the older pastors and the older fiery pastors being the ones, do you think with us now seeing a newer, younger generation of pastors, we see, I'm not sure the guy's name, Michael something, the guy who spit in his hand and smacked the guy.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of his name, Michael something. So we see, we see these pastors that are younger and might be more hip, it might be more in tune to what's going on out here. Do you think that we could possibly get to a place like, once those older pastors, transition on to wherever they're going to transition to, wherever they're going, I don't know. I don't have a place to send them to, but wherever they're going to go. Do you think we'll get to a place where we will start seeing more acceptance of the LGBTQ community?
I think we need to I think of clergy leadership like Howard John Wesley of Alfred Street Baptist Church in Maryland. I would use this opportunity because we talk about communication with men and between men. Men are the greatest representation in the faith community.
Mm-hmm.
That is predominantly a patriarchal system.
Mm-hmm.
I would call upon all of us. There's a Howard John Wesley has a course of study called "Can I Push It?" and I'm going to put it in the chat. It's a 9-course conversation and spiritual study of sexuality in the Black church and how it relates to the word. So we have to be careful when we say things like disavow the Bible as if it's monolithic and it's not open to interpretation. We live, every single faith community has an interpreter in the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
And so who are we?
But I think I think what that comment was saying, Dr. G, I think if you are the pastor, like Ernest was referring to, the fiery pastor, then your belief system is that homosexuality is a sin, right?
It should be based on your substantiated ability to show in the word.
Right. It should be. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is, from the pastor that Ernest described earlier, right? The fiery pastor he described earlier, from in his eyes, and not Ernest, but the pastor's eyes, that particular pastor, maybe it is disavowing the Bible, right? For him to do that. I think that's what the comment is saying. I don't think it is saying in a literal sense. I think the commenter was saying from the pastor's perspective, you would be, he or she would be disavowing the Bible from their perspective. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect
that makes sense. And I saw the comment and I was thinking, that does make sense. But there are probably some other things that the pastor, things that go on in life and in the church that the pastor may not speak on. It may not be about homosexuality, but it may be about people, woman out, whatever. But there are other things that the pastor should speak about, not just about the gay life. But I understand where they're coming from, but still, I think that if they are truly saying they are following the guidelines of Christ and accepting of everyone, they have to really, really think about that.
Can I give another example? Like domestic violence. Let's use that as an example.
Yeah.
There are there's an older thinking in some clergy that existed where their belief was that a woman should stay there, even if she's being beaten, even if she's being mishandled, that she should stay there because she married this person and that is her obligation. Is that the kind in these days and times? Because is that something we would tell women now? Is that appropriate? Is that appropriate to tell a woman in these days and times that she should be subject to violent behavior?
Right. I think in the comment, Quetta says hellfire and damnation pastors won't teach against their interpretation of the Bible, and I think that's
to uplift her statement, their interpretation.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So we touched on the faith community. I want to. We've got some time. We're going to bring some folks, and we got some folks backstage that we're going to bring in for some Q&A, so they can actually ask some questions and get involved in the conversation also. But I want to kind of talk about the stigma that is attached with Black men being on the down low. We touched on it a little bit with what Ernest said, and I want to ask both of the guests, Ernest and R&B, what are your thoughts on this? I guess I don't know if is it cultural? Like, is it a cultural thing of men being on the down low and being like you said, Ernest, married to a woman, and then maybe, and I'll use creeping as a term, creeping out with a man, but not identifying as being a member of the LGBTQ community. Let's talk about the dangers in that, right? Because I think that poses a lot of dangers when it comes to, especially when we're talking about HIV and AIDS, if you're not upfront and honest with your partner in any capacity, whether you are, whether you're creeping out with a man or a woman. Like if you are not having sex with one partner, or you just don't know what's going on with the other partner, it poses certain
Or
dangers and certain
protection.
risks. Say
Or
it again, Doc.
protect.
Or protection, very much so.
Mhm.
It poses certain risks. So, what can we do to, I guess, alleviate those issues? Because, as men, we want to be sure that we are, of course, being upfront and honest with our partners. So I'll start with R&B.
Yeah.
What do you think about the and I don't want to call it a phenomenon. I don't really know what to call it. So somebody
Yeah.
help me out. Feel free
Yeah.
to give me the words.
I
But
think it definitely is cultural.
mhm,
Like especially like in a lot of like West Indian cultures, like people like from Trinidad, like people in Haiti, a lot of countries like that. It's just not tolerated to be gay. Like your parents will literally disown you.
Or
So
Mhm.
kill
that's like
you.
implanted from kids from when they're like babies. So they grow up with that stigma in them where like they just can't come out the closet. Like I had a friend in college where he was like obviously homosexual. Okay, every time we drinking, he'd get drunk. He would like point out guys that he's attracted to. He would offer to try to dance with guys. But soon he sobered up, he was very homophobic. Oh, the dude's
mhm,
kissing. Oh, no way. Turn this off. This is disgusting. And I realized that's implanted within him. I don't still have contact with him, but I'm not sure if he ever came out the closet, but he probably fits in this situation that we're talking about,
mhm,
where he would
mhm,
have a wife, but secretly he would go out to her male partners and be his true, I would say his true self.
Yeah.
mhm, hmm. Ernest, what you think?
Well, um, you know, and I guess so this is so tricky though because I know, and just just like I know a lot of straight folks. They consider themselves thugs or whatever. And I can, get in the midst of that group, communicate with them. But the thing is, I think, me just communicating with them does not mean that I need to display that, hey, I'm gay or whatever. We don't have that discussions, but some folks are, a little more, flamboyant. I guess those may be an issue for some of the folks to be around because they feel like, okay, now I got somebody that's a little more flamboyant that's going to make it look like I am dealing with them or I am, in the LGBTQ life. But I feel like, a lot of the straight deal guys or whatever, if they feel like you are masculine or you fit the, the, the description of like a straight male, either you just clean cut or whatever, and they don't see like a lot of feminine qualities, they feel like they can hang with you, be open with you, talk to you, um, and they can have one or two friends that are gay. They can be around their friends. They won't tell their friends, but you'll know what their situation is. And then for the most part, I think it's just to be respectful. Like, listen, that's what they do. I'm okay with that. I don't have to impose what they do. They don't have to impose what I do. I think that makes a better way for black straight, black gay men to like communicate and not have all of the issues and all the other things, but they should still be able to do that even with somebody that's flamboyant, in my opinion, because just because they're a little more flamboyant and feminine, that doesn't mean that they're gonna, but that messes with their ego, I think.
Mhm.
So
Okay. All right.
Well,
So good,
wouldn't
Dr. G.
wouldn't we say that most people have someone? I mean, someone in our family is same gender loving.
oh yeah.
Okay, and most families have
Mhm.
somebody in their family who's same gender loving.
Mhm.
The question becomes, do part of the organization that I served for all of that time was creating an atmosphere to heal people who had been dispelled or put out of their families
Mhm.
because of some of what we're talking about right here. And I saw the comment said there's always been a stigma attached to homosexual men from the flamboyant imaging.
Mhm.
But what part of this communication conversation that we're having, and what I hope is one of the things we walk away from, is that all men who identify as gay are not
Mhm.
flamboyant.
Mhm.
They don't fit the stereotype. There is a stereotype of straight men as well.
Oh yeah.
And that speaks to what I was saying earlier about men that profess to be straight or only talking about who they sleep with or they're with as women, when in fact it's to the contrary. They also have intimacy with same gender. And
Mhm.
so we have to be careful in our language of how we just say, oh well, they're straight. Well, that's what has been presented. That doesn't necessarily mean what it is.
Mhm.
Most of us have a friend
Sure.
who's in the gay community, and we love them. So not only do we have family members who we love, we have friends that we love.
But I also,
Um, uh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I also found with stigma, or what Ernest was saying about flamboyant, sometimes has to be addressed on the straight man side also, that this preconceived notion that all gay men, which we also get from women, or like all women want them. Or
Mhm.
that because a man is gay or more flamboyant, that means that they want them. No, it does not.
Sure.
Mhm.
And a lot of
I don't
women
even know who that
are
was talking.
intimidated. A lot of women are intimidated with gay men. They make assumptions that if their man is talking to someone who was gay, that automatically it's the gay man who was hitting on their man, when it could be totally the opposite.
Or it could be totally a friendship.
I wanna ask. I'm gonna ask one more question. I'll bring in the people from backstage. I want to ask Ernest a question. And Ernest, this is a question that I want to know. This is Ernest. Just pretend this is just you and me. This is my question. Okay, Dr. G, Reggie, close your ears. Ernest, is there a such thing as a gay agenda from the media? Does it exist in real life, or is it something that Black folks on social media have just made up?
I don't think there is a gay agenda. I think there is folks that are gay are trying to say it's about time that we need to be treated equally across the board
Mhm.
and not be looked at because of our sexuality and who we choose to sleep with.
Got it. Got it. I just asked that because I see a lot of times on social media, mainly, a lot of folks will bring up the quote unquote gay agenda. And I've always wondered what folks in the LGBTQ community felt about that term, and if they felt that it was really a thing.
I'm not sure if I understand the term gay agenda. Does that mean they're recruiting? Is that they want?
Yeah, that's how they usually use it. They say they're trying to turn kids gay. That's what they
Right.
usually say.
That's what
Right.
I mean. That's what they're trying to say, that every gay person is trying to turn
Right.
somebody out. And that's just a flat out lie.
Mhm.
They don't say that about straight folks when they
Right.
get someone, a young, anytime. More heterosexual men are known for violating lines of demarcation with women
And children.
than gay men or women in the gay community. So that's a whole nother lecture there. But I really want to hear from some of the folks.
Yep, we're gonna bring some folks up into the stream now. I'm gonna bring Cornelius. Cornelius, I'm gonna bring you up right now. It looks like you're driving, but I'm gonna bring you up to ask you a question, and then I'll bring up some of the other folks. So
I know Naheem's
Cornelius.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good, brother. Naheem dropped off, Dr. G.
Okay.
Cornelius, you have a question?
Well, one of the questions is the gay agenda question. I personally don't believe there's a gay agenda, but I have seen where, in some instances, where it's been forced on younger people in some cases. Reason why I said that, because me as a young male, Dr. G has known me over 30 years, and a few other people in the chat know me. When I was younger, a male friend of the family was trying to tell me it was okay to like men. I'm a straight male. I identify as straight. I am straight. I love women, especially black women. Dr. G knows this also. But I am not one to put someone in a box. I have grown over the years. Again, Dr. G understands this, Vivian understands this. By me being an educator, let me get my point in. By me being an educator, I hear more young students say the gay agenda is happening than I hear older folks, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to the panel is, do you think that young minds could be turned to whatever agenda, gay, straight, or whatever, by being influenced by older adults or social media or media itself?
Good question. Thank you for the question, Cornelius.
See, I feel like they're telling you that it's okay to like men, and hey, you need to like men are two very, very different things, and that's like a very important distinction to make. So like, for instance, like in Disney movies, Prince been kissing princesses forever, and people still turned out gay. It wasn't some straight agenda to turn all the kids straight. I don't have any statistics, of course, but I don't think it's more gay kids now than it was back then. I don't have any statistics, of course, but if I did, I believe it would probably be about the same statistics. I don't think like there's any agenda to turn. I don't think it's possible to turn kid gay just by telling them, "Hey, it's okay to like men." I think it's more like making them comfortable to be themselves, which is actually very beneficial as the kids are developing and growing up.
Yeah, I don't think there's a an agenda where media or adults are trying to persuade young folks to be gay. I think people now are parents, these new age parents are like, listen, I'm gonna let you be yourself and I'm gonna let you be your true self. And with them letting them be their true self, they're letting kids just be kids and define and if they some people say, oh, they're 8, they don't know what they really want to do as far as like their sexual orientation. But yeah, they really do because this is seem like a new age of kids now. Kids are a lot smarter. You got media and all these other things. So kids are exposed to a lot more than what we were exposed when we were younger. So yeah, I don't think that it's adults or anything like that. I think kids are actually doing what they want. I'm in high school, I had a girlfriend, did all this other stuff, but I knew I really wanted to date guys, but I was dating a female and all just because it was what the norm or what my parents said that I should do. My mom was the one who you're gonna be use the F word and all this good stuff. But now we don't have that. My friends always laugh and say that my nephew, which is very out there, they said that he opened the door and paved the way for me, and he's much younger than me. But my mom, sister, and everybody's a lot more accepted now. I can go there with my partner, we have no issues. But before, younger, oh, my mom was not trying to hear that. I'm like number 10 out of 9 boys and 1 girl, and she just was not feeling that. But things are different now, so parents respond to things differently. So I don't think adults are, moving toward people get kids are just making decisions where they think that they're comfortable.
And Ernest, you said something that I think is important, and I want to kind of we haven't tackled the children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important as a parent, and this is the perspective that I come from as a parent. Our kids are dealing with things that are really serious right now, and I think we as Black parents, particularly, have started to take our children's mental health a lot more serious than we have in the past, and a lot more serious than our parents did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the barbershop one day, and the conversation was, of course, the barbershop is the cornerstone of the community. That's where all the conversations happen. The conversation was, how do you handle it if your child comes to you and tells you that they're gay? And I said, well, I my number one priority right now as a parent in this generation is protecting my child's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to let them know that I love them, is to let them know that I'm not judging them, and to let them know that it's me and them against whatever this world throws at them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to I can't beat it out of them like a whole lot of people did back in the day. I can't do none of that. I need to be sure that your mental health is here, because suicide in our community amongst our young people is hitting a record level. And my concern is keeping you here, keeping you safe, letting you know that you're valued, letting you know that you're loved, letting you know that you are protected more than anything else. I don't care who you date.
That's right.
I need to make sure that you stay here. That's
And
it.
and I would like to piggyback on that. I just found out a year ago my daughter is bisexual. She didn't go to anyone else in the family first except to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her pretty much the same thing. I said, look, you know my stance on certain things, but you're my child. If you have problems or whatever, there's nothing to me. And I tell my students this also. There's nothing that bad on this planet that as long as you breathe in, walking around free and healthy, that can be better tomorrow. And that's one of the things I told my daughter. I would never stop loving you. You're my child. You're my offspring. Your brothers and sisters are my offspring. And I love you regardless.
Yeah.
And that actually helped me grow a little bit because Dr. G and I discussed that also. You know, I think now she's actually interested in the young man, but I told her at that time, you know, look, you crying, you thinking I'm gonna sit here and disown you. I said, I can never disown you. You're my child. You know, no matter what you do, I can disagree with things you do, but my love for you is greater than all of that. And I think quite a few parents need to make sure they convey that message to their children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Cornelius. I'm going to pull you out. I got a couple other people that want to get up and contribute to the conversation. I appreciate you checking us out, man.
Thanks, Cornelius.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, I want to go to, let's go to John. John, I believe, is here. John, you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, John, what's up? You got a question?
No, actually, first of all, I didn't know that I was going to be on camera or anything like that, or this was actually last minute. What's up, Dr. G? I literally just got on here like right before y'all started, so I didn't know that was happening. So excuse the background.
It's all good.
Who cares?
I actually didn't have a question, and I apologize. I'm actually doing overtime. I'm listening at the same time.
Okay, all right.
But
it's all good, John. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, actually, let me clear that up. Again, I didn't know what this platform was and everything. My name is actually Dave.
Oh, you gave us a fake name.
I did, absolutely. Each and every time. If I don't know anything
Wow.
about it, I'm not giving you my real name.
Wow, just a fake name. Just John. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just the plainest name ever. Cool.
And Mr. Ernest Brown, he was the one that actually put me in to listen in on the conversation. So I thought that's what I was going to be doing today. But I mean, no, it's actually really good conversation. I really don't have a question or anything like that, but it was just interesting hearing what everybody had to say and, you know, the different perspectives and everything like that. So, I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
I really...
All right, cool. We'll just continue listening, continue doing your overtime, and then we'll just, you know, we don't want to disturb you. Like, you got work to do. So
No, it's all good. I'm listening though.
All right, cool. We appreciate it.
See you, John.
All right, let's go to somebody who might actually have a question. Let's see if Reginald Reardon has a question. Reginald, if this is your real name, do you have a question for us?
Yes, that's my real name. I don't have a question. I was like John, but I like what you said about the mental health part in terms of the safety, the child. In essence, we have to meet them where they are so
Absolutely.
that we can provide that support in terms of where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate your comment.
Okay.
All right, let's check out. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Yafami. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. Yafami.
Yafami.
Yeah. Greetings, everyone.
Greetings. Is that your real name?
It is my birth name.
Okay.
Dr. G knows me as Lloyd.
Okay.
Hey, Lloyd.
Hey. So I am a parent of an adult child, and my current lifestyle, I live a gay lifestyle. I don't particularly have a question. I want to go back and try and tie some of the things together that have been discussed. I think when you start talking about children, that's where it begins, because it all begins at home. And if you teach your children to be inclusive of all people, regardless of any label that they might have, it will make life a lot easier for them and for them to accept whatever direction they're going in. And as a parent, I learned early on that you have to create the relationship with your child where your child can come and talk to you about any and everything. Because if you don't, then you will have the streets or people in the streets educating your child and leading them in a path or direction that you wouldn't necessarily want them to go. And I'm saying that because I'm going to tie it into uh, health risks, sexual health risks. If your child is having to hide who they are because all their life they have heard you use derogatory statements against a particular group of persons because they have a label on them, um, that child will not open up and tell you. And so in their sneaking, they are more apt to come across a person who is grimy enough to know that they have an illness of any type that is communicable and not tell your child. And then you're dealing with that with your child. So I think it begins at home where we create a culture of inclusion. And then from there, it does, I believe, spill over into the church because the church is the pillar of the Black community.
So let me
And
let me pause for a second. So I want you to unpack that. So how do we, as parents, foster a community of inclusion to our children? Give me some strategies. Unpack it for me.
if you're out in public, and I'll use the example of someone who has some type of deformity, and your child is with you, and of course, children are curious. They're going to ask questions. They may stare, but it's your job as the parent to then correct that behavior so that it's appropriate, where it doesn't make that person who has the deformity feel as though they're being looked at in a certain way or being made fun of. Um, I think when it comes to your sexuality and things of that nature, I have seen people out with their children, and I'll use the example of quote unquote stud, who very much looks like a male, and you can tell that it's still a female, and the child is a little confused. And when the child starts to question, the parent is laughing hysterically, not educating the child, and then proceeds to make fun of the person. So that's not a good way to send a message to a child. You explain to that child that yes, this person is different. This person has chosen to walk a different path. Many times I had to do that with my daughter, to explain to her that everyone has a right to live any life that they choose to live, as long as it's not directly affecting you. You don't have an opinion about it. Um, I remember growing up, I used to hear a lot of people, especially um, when the gay rights movement really started to get momentum. I would hear people around me say, I wish that all gay people would go back to the times where the closet was their king. Meaning, uh, you don't necessarily have to be so out and wear your sexuality on your shirt sleeve. It shouldn't immediately define who you are as a person. And I think there's a lot of that in the gay community and um, amongst men and women these days. There are a lot of people within our community who feel like they have a point to prove. And if I come out and I'm just over the top with everything, everyone's not going to accept that. But I'm going to go back to the comment of that was made earlier. If you just be yourself, no matter where you go, people are more apt to accept you. Um, I'm not the most masculine person, but I don't wear my sexuality on my shirt sleeve. And I can go into any environment. I have plenty of straight friends. I've been to countries where they say, oh, if you go there and they know you're gay, they're going to kill you. I'm still here today. I went there. I had no problems whatsoever, because I was just me. I didn't go there with the agenda of I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Um, I think to bridge this gap between straight and gay people, I think some of the I think that was Vivian talking, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Vivian said it. And unfortunately, there are some people who are guilty of this in the gay community who mistake the kindness of a straight person as an advancement or a door of opportunity for them to try to push themselves onto that person. So I think everyone has to govern themselves accordingly. When you're with other people and respect boundaries, there are boundaries. If someone is your straight friend and they're being your friend and accepting you who you are for who you are, you can't cross certain lines, and that happens. But then again, you have these people who seem to think that because you've chosen a lifestyle, every straight man doesn't want to sleep or be with every single woman. Everyone has a preference of some sort. And it's the same way in the gay world. You don't see every man and you want to sleep with every man. But for some reason, that is the mentality of a lot of straight men. But I think if
And
people
women.
if people are open and just be themselves and be open to conversations without being offended or angry, I think that gap can be bridged if people just be willing to be open to dialogue.
Yeah, agreed. I want to thank you for that
I just want
comment.
to chime in real quick if I can. Like,
Go
as
ahead.
a straight man, as an ally in the LGBT community, I have, of course, like gay male try to holler at me. I don't. That's not gonna make me like all of a sudden, oh hell no, get away from me. Like, I just kindly told them, hey, I'm heterosexual, but thank you. Like, and life goes on. It's not gonna make me
You
think
know,
like
I've been hit
gay
on, and
men they don't deserve civil rights now. Like, it just. I think I'm a
I'm
good looking man. It
flattered.
happens sometimes. Like,
I mean, I'm flattered. Well, I mean, I've been hit on plenty. I mean, I everybody's not flattered. I personally, I say I am so flattered, but I got a man, you know. But
Dr. J, I got a feeling you say something else, but I'm not going.
no, seriously. I mean, I'm flattered, but just not interested.
Right. I want to, and to just respect everyone's time, I want to bring Naeem up here. I know he's been waiting for a while. Naeem, you here?
Naheem, you here?
Naeem is getting abducted by aliens. Naeem, are you with us?
Hold on for a second. Hold on.
Okay. All right. So while they handle that business, let's take Naeem out until they get everything straight. So Ernest, I'll ask you this. We were talking about the legislation and things like that could potentially be coming down the pipeline, right? What do you think socially? Not even socially. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? What's your opinion on what's going to happen after we saw how they gutted Roe versus Wade last week? What do you think is going to happen with the rights of LGBTQ folks to marry each other?
It's definitely very scary because just what Clarence Thomas making that comment, like we might need to rethink some other things. That's just opening the door to so much, and there's so many folks who did not want that in the beginning, and so it's very scary, because a lot of folks who may be married or may still be trying to pursue that, that's definitely, in my opinion, going to be in jeopardy because of I think it's a lot. It's like the white male syndrome. They try to go in and say that they want to dictate what the next person can do. Clarence Thomas is white by color, but I think there are folks that they just feel like they need to run and judge and be the keeper of somebody else's life, and I think that's like wrong, but it's definitely going to be in jeopardy.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Naeem, is this you and Dr. G seat, sir?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Okay, good, man. You got a question?
Nah, I really want to just add in on the conversation.
Okay, what you got?
going back, my phone had went out. It had overheated. But going back earlier in the conversation, it was like just to talk more about how it's kind of pushed. I think it's kind of inclusiveness. A lot of the times before, we didn't have well, eh, they their community didn't have the voice to push out who they were. You know what I'm saying? As much as like how black people didn't have a voice to push who they were in the 60s and the 50s when we weren't advertised in television. Um, they now have a chance to advertise themselves and show who they are and it be out. I think when we get an understanding, whether it be heterosexual or homosexual males, when we get an understanding that they're just trying to be heard, or they're just trying to show that what I'm saying, they are somebody too. I feel like then we could, what I'm saying, merge together better. Also, I think females, to an extent, have a play in it too, because the way that they see men who are gay, you know what I'm saying, they kind of make it kind of demasculine. A male, you feel me? Just little things like what he said with P Valley. You can't even watch P Valley without somebody saying that you're gay when it's only a TV show. So I think when we come to agreement with females of how certain people are looked at as well, and the image that they have control over pushing, then we could come to an understanding as well.
Yeah, Naeem, I agree with you like 100%, especially when it comes to media, because when they were bringing out the interracial couples were coming out on commercials, we were like, oh, look at the interracial couple. We got the black and the white folks on TV now. That wasn't no huge thing, but when you have like, the gay couples, in TV shows now that are they have great ratings, they're getting paid good money. Now it's the issue. So media does play a part, good and bad, because media sometimes open up the doors to some folks that may not have had doors open. You didn't see a whole lot of interracial things, even though we know it was there, but we didn't see it in the front and on the TVs like that. Same thing with like gays. And now the way the media is it does make some folks feel like, okay, I really can be my true, genuine self, because they see it all the time. So it's it's good and bad. It's good and bad.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get in one last question. We got one last person in the green room that wants to get in. We got Vivian back here. Hey, Vivian.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How about you? You got something you want to say?
It was just that it was the conversation was needed to be had, and in the times that we are now living, I do believe that we have started down that slippery slope of denying people their rights, and I think that going after gay rights next is an easy target for the right, the ultra right conservative agenda now, and that the Supreme Court now has become so political that it is no longer the will of the people, but the will of the party that put them in there. And with the present court and the age of the court, that we're set back 50 years, but it'll take a 50-year fight to change the court again, because they are on the court until they die. Yeah. So it's very important that we stay vigilant now, that we stay woke, that we galvanize, and that we vote. The only way that we're going to have a fighting chance is if we change the outlook of our Congress, how it looks, our Senate, who makes confirmations to the courts, that we have to go and vote and say, this is not what we want as a country. This is not what we want as a people. And that's where we have to stand now. I think the line in the sand has been drawn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great way for us to close out this conversation. I think that speaks volumes, right? If we do want to see change, if we do want to see generations that are to come live a better life and have the rights that we feel they should, we got to fight for it. Yeah. Right? We
and that's a conversation that has no dissection with race, with gender, or anything. We all have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Yep. Vivian, thank you for your comment. I'm going to drop you off. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Ernest, would you like to close out with anything, sir?
You was talking to me?
Yes, sir. I say, do you want to close us out with any parting words?
Yeah, I just want to say this was a very, very great conversation. I think we should have more of them. You know, I think we should have some more folks at the table. I would love to, you know, our trans individuals are, we got trans males, got trans females, you know, female to male, male to female. So I would love to see them in this conversation and get their impact, because I know when stigma is definitely huge in the trans community. So if we have I would love to see a trans individual on
Well,
this.
you missed Monday night and Tuesday night with Pastor
Michael
Shannon, and yesterday we had Melissa Miller from Trans Solutions. So I'm just going to have to get you up to speed.
Exactly.
But this conversation was needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely need it.
DJ R&B, anything you'd like to say, sir?
Yeah, pretty much. This is a very excellent conversation that's much needed. Hope a lot of straight people realize it's okay to stand up for rights, even if it doesn't personally affect you. Gay rights are human rights. Just like women's rights are human rights, black rights are human rights. We all got to fight this together. This is like a battle for all of us.
Facts.
So you see what they did for women. I think they are going to come for gays next. They're going to come for blacks. Like, we all have to fight this together.
Absolutely. Dr. G, what you got for me, ma'am?
Well, the only thing I have is I want to, for those of you that are on, I didn't know how to go in the chat, but tomorrow, Kalea Sumter, who's a licensed social worker, we're doing a session on my great-granddaughter.
Is that Nyla?
That is Nyla.
That's my baby. Hey, Nyla.
We're doing a session on incorporating the 6 dimensions of wellness during the pandemic, from spiritual to physical to financial to mental. And I would encourage all of folks to look me up, Bambi Gaddis, on Facebook, friend me, so I can give you the link to that. And I just want to lift you up, Dion, because I know I am like always on it and always at you. And he just coming through time after time. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate you so much.
Anything for you, Dr. G. So I'll just close out with just agreeing with what everyone has already said on the panel, particularly what DJ R&B said: gay rights and human rights, trans rights and human rights, black rights and human rights. And I think, again, most important, we have to understand that the people united will never be defeated. So we have to all band together and make sure that we are doing everything that we can to be sure that the next generation of kids and babies to come just has all the rights they deserve. That's what it all boils down to for me. So I'm going to close out. Thank y'all so much. Make sure you follow Black People Parenting on all the social media platforms. Listen to the Black People Parenting podcast. And that's it. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.
All right,
Peace. Ernest, I'll be hollering.
All right.